Today we're going to make one of my favorite soups, a hearty jackfruit stew. We're going to start with about 1.5 medium-sized onions, and we're actually sauteing in water today. Cutting back on the oil, wanted to see how it would work, and it worked out perfectly. There was no oil or fat in this recipe. So you're going to sweat your onions down for a few minutes, and then you're going to add about 3 cloves of garlic, and just mix that up. You want to sweat both of them together so that the flavors meld and the garlic is not raw. We're going to cook this whole pot for quite some time. Most time is hands off, so you don't have to worry about it. We're also going to season this layer. I like to season each layer of my food, and this layer is going to be pretty simple. We're just doing some pink Himalayan sea salt and some pepper. If you find that anything is sticking in your pan, just add a little bit more water, about 1 to 2 tablespoons at a time, and it'll come right off the bottom. We're going to add some diced carrots, and I will put all the descriptions in the box below so you know exactly how much you need for each of these things. But I think I use about 2 carrots. If you like more carrots, put more carrots in there. This is your stew. I'm just giving you the ideas and the base, and you can work from there. We're going to add about 8 sprigs of thyme, and then you can put your broth in. This is just water. I'm going to be seasoning this water, but it would really be delicious if you used a vegetable broth as well. And then the star of the show is jackfruit. I put in 2 cans of young jackfruit in the brine. I poured the brine out. I rinsed the can, rinsed the jackfruit, and squeezed it out as much of the brine because I don't like the brine flavor. But you're going to see this jackfruit, when it's all done, it is going to cook up and come apart just like chicken thighs. I'm not lying. So we're just going to let that cook on medium-high heat for about 10 minutes. And when you come back to it, you're going to see that all the flavors are together. It's starting to do a low boil, and we're going to season this layer. I have about a tablespoon of smoked paprika, which is going to add depth and wonderful flavor to this. I also have about a teaspoon of poultry seasoning, which has no chicken in it. It's just all the great flavors that you would put on chicken or turkey if you're cooking it. And just mix that up a little bit. And then we're going to thicken this. I have about 2/3 cup of whole wheat flour. You could use pastry flour. You probably could use white flour if you like. But this is whole wheat flour. And I am using a whisk just to get some of the clumps out. Now, if I'd have been thinking ahead, I would have done this in the broth, or in the broth or water. That way, by the time you put it in here, it's already, without any lumps in it. But I didn't, and it turned out just fine. This is a chopped tomato. The recipe actually calls for about 3 chopped tomatoes, but I didn't have 3 chopped tomatoes. And like I tell you guys, use what you got. I had 1 tomato, and we're going to add to other things a little later. We're now seasoning this layer as well with, very simply, some salt and pepper. But I also have about 2 teaspoons of parsley that's going in this layer as well. I was almost out of parsley. I normally would put in probably a good 1/3 cup of parsley, but that's all I had at the time. Found a little bit more lumps, and that's just from the flour. Just use your whisk and whisk those out. This, as I mentioned, is going to be a lot of hands off, so it is going to cook down, and you don't have to worry about those lumps at all. Look at her. Starting to thicken up really nicely. Since I didn't have the tomatoes, as I mentioned, I did find a can of diced tomatoes, so I poured that in there. And your tomatoes are going to give it color and depth and flavor, but also as they cook down, you're going to see that this tomato base is going to thicken this sauce up even more so than the flour. And then it does actually call for a can of tomato sauce. So we had chopped tomatoes that I put in, a can of tomatoes that were diced, and some tomato sauce. And look at how the color is changing. The sauce is getting thicker. Well, it's sauce, gravy, stew, all around the same. And always always taste your food. If it's good, let her sit for a bit. After about 30 minutes or so, you're going to see this has thickened up beautifully. It is, all the flavors are so well combined. We want to get in here and take out our thyme leaves, take out your bay leaves. I forgot I did drop a few bay leaves in there off camera. I had to fish those out. But also you're going to see that you still have some big chunks of jackfruit. Just begin to crush those with the back of your spoon. Sometimes I will take the big ones out and just take them apart with my fingers or chop them up and then put them back in. As you can see, when you mash these open, it will look like shredded chicken in here. But jackfruit is a wonderful way to add fiber, and there's really not much flavor at all. So you're flavoring all of that jackfruit as you flavor your soup. Just about finished, so we're just going to add about 3 cups of peas. Peas are one of my favorite vegetables, so I put in a lot of peas. If you don't like peas, just put a little bit. And I also had some cooked potatoes. I always start my week with about, I'll cook a whole pot of potatoes and just add them in different things as the week goes on. And so that is how we're going to end this jackfruit stew, with our peas and cooked potatoes. The potatoes are already done, and the peas are small and frozen, and they'll be, thawed out and cooked probably within a couple of minutes. So just pop the lid on, do something in the kitchen just for about 5-7 minutes, or until you're ready to go back to it, because this will just get better and better as it cooks away. Speaking of which, let's take a look and see what this looks like when it is all done. Look at that. It's bubbly, it's thick. Tomatoes almost made it creamy. You want to cook your peas such that they don't lose color. You still want them to be nice and bright and full of flavor. And that's exactly what this stew is going to do. Let's plate this up a little bit and get to eating. So as you plate this up, you're going to see you have all the things that you put in there. Nothing is hidden. Your potatoes and your diced tomatoes, your jackfruit, which is beginning to come apart, and your peas. Look at that. You see your seasonings, your parsley. This is absolutely delicious. I hope you try it on the next cold day. Make a meal prep of it, and you'll have something all week. I'll see you in the next video.